Welcome one and all. I am Matthew Gilbert. I am an instructor here at AUE in the College of Business Administration, and I primarily teach marketing and management courses. And it's my pleasure to share with you my paper, Strengthening Your Social Media Marketing with Live Streaming Video. And as I said earlier, I'm streaming this live on Facebook. I'll show you the slide where you can go and watch it. If you miss it live, I'll post it afterwards. Just tap it. Yeah. So we are live on Facebook. This is my Facebook page. If you want to go find me, it's under. You can either look up my name or you can look up the URL. And I've actually been live streaming some of the other presentations as well. So I thought I would, put some. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. Okay. So I broke this presentation down into 3 main sections. And it loosely follows the course of the paper, although it kind of grouped some things to fit into this model. So why? Why use live streaming video? Why is it important? The second section is how. How can I broadcast live video? More of a practical kind of practitioner approach. And 3, what? What are the risks and rewards of live streaming videos? I'm not going to go over all of these, but as a quick backstory, some of this might be information you already know. But according to Kemp, 40% of the global population actively uses social media. That's 3 billion people. That's a lot of people, right? Worldwide, there are more than 5 million mobile phone users or mobile device users, and nearly 2.8 million of those devices are being used to access social media. So you can see where this trend is starting to go. Just specifically in the Middle East, I had discovered this when I was writing a book chapter. I thought this was interesting and relevant for this. There are actually more mobile phone subscriptions than there are people here in the Middle East. So mobile is the way to go here in the Middle East. And in total, that's 83 million people actively using social media from a mobile device. What I did is I kind of made this case of going from social media to mobile devices to video to live streaming video, connecting them all together in kind of this pattern. Video is big, right? I don't need to tell you this because when you go on Facebook, you all watch the videos of Canada falling over and dogs doing silly things and people pulling pranks and whatever they're doing. So 55% of consumers prefer video over pretty much any other kind of content. So if you're in marketing and you are not producing video, you're missing lots of opportunities. An average video post generates 135% more organic reach than a photo post. And photo posts by themselves, the number is escaping me, but the engagement you get when you post something online with a photo versus not a photo is there's a huge disparity between them. So going from no photo to a photo is a huge leap in engagement. And then going from a photo to video is even more. The number of daily video views on Facebook doubled to 8 billion video views per day on Facebook. And video posts increased 94% in the US and globally. 74% of consumers are more likely to make a purchase after watching a branded video. So videos with your brand in them engender trust. It creates a connection. It's kind of a virtual dialogue in a way. It endears people to your products and to your services. Cisco predicts that by 2019, 80% of internet traffic will be video, which is a huge number, right? Now, video by itself is a very effective tool. It's a very effective medium for marketing, but recorded and produced video can be very costly, and it can be very cumbersome to produce, to edit, to distribute. So that's why we have this development or this move towards live streaming video. Because live streaming video offers an affordable and an efficient way of, in many ways, sharing the same kind of content. Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, has explained that live video gives people more intimate environments and more raw environments where you have a reason to just be yourself. And the reality is that consumers spend 3 times longer watching a live video than they do one that was recorded. And what this kind of connects to is a couple things, and we're going to discuss it following my presentation, but people don't expect you to be perfect when they're watching you live. And in fact, as I was recording Dr. Tarek's presentation, the phone fell out of the tripod and stumbled over, and it kept recording. And I just kept going. I'm not going to stop it and restart it, right? Those kind of things happen. There's this weird component to human psychology where we tend to enjoy people stumbling, right? We tend to be waiting for somebody to fail, right? So I think there is that element of that unknown, that unpredictability. If you guys have ever seen any footage of, for my orientation, I see from the US, where you have a broadcaster or reporter on live news, and somebody comes, walking in and disrupts the reporting. And those always make for funny videos. People like to watch those things. And again, in terms of connecting to consumers, the benefit from a marketing standpoint, from a commercial standpoint, is that when people are watching you on a live video, they know that you're not faking it. They know you didn't do 72 takes of something, you're just doing it. And that whatever's coming out of your mouth is what's coming out of your mouth. If you slip, if you fall, if you forget what you're going to say, it's there, right? It's all happening. And you're not really selling. People don't see it as selling even if you are promoting something. Because when somebody asks a question, your answer in that real time validates or proves the value of your product or service, because it's unrehearsable. It's unfakeable, I guess you could say. It's not fake news. So we shift over to how. How do I broadcast live video? There's lots of different platforms. What I've listed here are the most popular ones, with Facebook being the 800-pound gorilla. Actually, now I guess we call it the 2 billion-pound gorilla, because that's how many people are on Facebook. And all of these other platforms, though, have their benefits, have their weaknesses, have their drawbacks. But of course, Facebook owns Instagram, so it's kind of one and the same. I don't know what he's broadcasting on at the moment. I know here at AUE they use Facebook and Instagram, kind of interchangeably. Periscope is connected to Twitter, and it's sort of fallen to a distant third these days, just because when Facebook gets involved, Facebook takes over, right? Facebook is like when Walmart comes into a small town and just destroys any local business. This is what Facebook does, any other platform. So if you have what you think is a foolproof online digital business, and then suddenly Facebook takes an interest in it, if they're not buying you and they're creating a competing product, you probably should start looking for something else to do, right? So when it comes to broadcasting, you also need to develop some strategies. And what I've defined are actually 4 different strategies. I'll briefly go over these after the slide, but you need a content strategy. You need an equipment strategy. You need a production strategy, and you need a broadcast strategy. So the content strategy is simply, what are you going to put? What are you going to record? What are you going to do? What kind of value are you going to offer to your audience that they can't get somewhere else? So I'm not going to read through all of these, but some of these are just as simple as what we're doing now. We're broadcasting a live event. You can let somebody in on an experience that they might not normally have. I don't know how many people are lining up in droves to come to an academic conference who aren't in academia, but people are curious. People want to see what's something that I've never done, what's it really like. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, like what's behind the curtain, right? Giving that someone a sneak peek of behind the curtain. Dealing with customer service issues, Q&A sessions, crowdsourcing feedback, showing how your product is created. This is the big one. A student of mine from an online class, this wasn't live video, but she shared with me a video of one of her consulting clients, and they make prefabricated modules for Holiday Inn Express hotels. And so she put this 4-minute video on Facebook about they're just assembling stuff as all these construction guys. And honestly, I never even thought about how they made a Holiday Inn Express. I thought they just built the wall in the building, but they don't. Everything is prefab, then moved over and installed, and then they finish it. Now that wasn't a live video, but that could have been even more interesting as a live video because you could have seen it in the moment when somebody's hammering or sawing or screwing, and God forbid something happens, right? It's a very physical experience. Your equipment strategy and production strategy have to do with the moment. One of the resources that I found defined 4 levels of an equipment strategy, starting from what most of us think of most likely when we think of live streaming, which is what I'm doing right now, which is what Hassan is doing right now, or he was doing, I don't know if he's doing it at the moment, but it's a handheld device. It's very simple, it's easy, it's the kind of thing you use to just do something quick and fun, and that you just want to share something in the moment. The next level is using the phone but adding some extra gear, either an external light or a microphone. Never underestimate the value of good audio on your video. Oftentimes, good audio will compensate for bad video quality because we tend to see with our ears. So the next level, and I haven't gone to that level yet, but the next level is a microphone, an external microphone, and an additional light, because those are issues, right? Those increase the quality. The third and fourth one require a greater investment of time, resources, energy, and money. The third one, you're broadcasting from a computer. And there are different software packages that allow you to do that, but there's a cost involved with that. You need to have a machine that's capable of running this software and of managing or processing the video and everything else. The last one is what we see when we go on Facebook and we see like CNN or NPR or somebody broadcasting some event. It's basically them using the same technology that they would if you're watching it on TV, but they're channeling it, they're producing it, they're broadcasting it to Facebook. So this is a whole other level. In terms of a production strategy, the idea is about kind of what are you going to do, or what is your plan. The first part is to produce a show reliably once a week on the same day at the same time. So just start with that. Right? So let's say every Wednesday you have a show at 6 p.m., whatever your time zone is. And you start to build a base with that. You start to build an audience because they know every Wednesday at 6 p.m. you're going to be live. From there, you start streaming random events twice a week, but not on the same day as your scheduled event. So this is kind of your slice of life. This is your behind the scenes. Your produced, scheduled, perhaps scripted event on that Wednesday is more formal. These are, you take the camera with you when you go to the post office. You take the camera with you when you go get the mail. You take the camera with you when you go to the beach. It's kind of life unscripted. The third part is, what I do a lot, is you repurpose the live video. One of the great things about Facebook Live, and I believe all of the other platforms, to a greater or lesser degree depending, is you can save a recorded version of that live stream and use it later. So what I've done is I take the live streams of my speaking engagements, I leave them on my Facebook page as they were, but then I take them out and I put them either on YouTube directly, or if I have access to a program, I'll edit them slightly, either just from the cut out the beginning and then cut out the end because there's a lot of dead time. And then I put it on YouTube and I use it in a blog. Or you take a part of what your presentation was and you repurpose it. One of the good examples they gave is to send out small clips of a longer live broadcast in email. Because as much as we want to get past email, email is still a very effective marketing tool.
I'll do 15 minutes.
Okay. In terms of your broadcast strategy, there's just some points here, just a process. Everything from welcoming your audience, telling them what you're going to do, going through these different stages of engagement, and then concluding the show and telling them when they can watch you next. One thing I did, I'm not going to go over the details now, or I'm not going to go over the results, is I conducted a survey. It was very small. I would almost call it anecdotal, but I asked people to share with me their responses to 10 questions I asked about how they used live streaming video. And I asked these 10 questions, actually 8, and then 2 were optional. And I talked to different people. I got 5 respondents. Again, it's not scientific, it's really anecdotal, but it's qualitative and it's interesting. So at the time, this is some time ago, I learned how AUE, where we are now, started to use live streaming video. I talked to a gentleman who is a musician and who has played with people like David Bowie, the Smashing Pumpkins, Trent Reznor, symphonies. We learned about how they use live streaming video. A consultant who interviewed me, and I appeared on several of his podcasts. He talked about how he uses it. And lastly, a gentleman by the name of Scott Monty, who at the time was consulting, but prior to that, he was in charge of all social media for Ford Motor Company. And now he has another consulting agency. So it's some really good, interesting feedback. And it gives you kind of a slice of life of how people are really using it. And there's some similarities, and there's some differences. Lastly, we talk about what are the risks of reward. What are the risks and rewards of live streaming video? Well, the rewards are very evident, right? I've already gone over many of them. The popularity of live streaming video will only continue to grow. Our tools, the tools that we have access to, will continue to improve. But there are some very real risks as well. And mainly they fall under categories of like ethics, safety, maybe even health, privacy issues, legal issues. So it opens up a lot of doors that maybe shouldn't have been open, right? There's been a lot of incidents recently where criminal acts take place, or very troublesome acts take place, and people stream them live on Facebook. I don't know why people do these things. Again, that's a whole other area to research why people do the weird things that we do, right? Why do people want to live stream themselves in the worst moment of their life, right? There are issues of accountability, though, right? People live stream themselves in situations with law enforcement, and good or bad, whether they were right or wrong, at least you see it happen in real time. But that creates other problems because you don't really know the circumstances. You don't always know the context. So it might look like something happened, but from the layman's eye, from a camera, that who knows how good the resolution is, who knows. Lastly, there might be some applications of live streaming video for smart cities. Maybe you're live streaming city council meetings. Maybe you have a live stream of a busy intersection so people can see if it's safe to go home. There's a lot of applications, there's a lot of possibilities. With that said, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Now we have Dr. Tariq, who is the discussant of the paper. I appreciate any questions or PowerPoint.
I think it's directed from here.
Yeah.
Live streaming is growing up, as far as I understand what you're saying. Why do you think people are so fond of it? When you compare it with edited video, why people prefer it?
I think for a couple of reasons. I think, one, it gives people a platform. And there's a tremendous amount of power in our mobile devices that I don't think we always fully realize, right? So on a sort of just purely almost innocent, playful, positive level, it gives people a platform to share themselves, to sort of put themselves out there. One of the interesting things you can do is you can go on Facebook and it will show you in like a map of where people are live broadcasting. Now, not every live broadcast is made public, right? Sometimes people just keep it to their friends. But it's really funny, one night I was just online and I went to the map and I was seeing who in UAE was broadcasting, and there's people like singing to the camera, and there's people doing, I'm like, random things. So I think it gives people a way to connect with other people. I think the darker side of it is what I was mentioning, where people tend to sort of enjoy that anticipation of disaster, right? Maybe disaster is a strong word, but people kind of want to wait and see when someone's going to, not be watch where they're going and they follow and they fall into a manhole or something like that. We kind of have this weird fascination with that fail mentality, right? So I think those are a couple of reasons why.
I also would like to ask you about live video and smart cities. When you use them in a smart city, number one, how? And number two is, what are the pros and cons of using it in a smart city?
Well, using live streaming video in a smart city, I think I mentioned some of the ideas. I think the benefit is it could have a lot to do with sharing awareness and sharing information. I would imagine it could somehow be tied into a data feed, right? So when it comes to even something as simple as traffic or knowing if it's busy or if you should wait to go a certain way, you can go click on a camera and you can go see what's happening in that moment. I think things like government, I think it could really help with transparency. You know, a lot of, like, where I lived in the US, a lot of times city council meetings were broadcast on like closed circuit TV or the local TV channel that nobody ever watches and nobody knows where it is. So if you can put that on Facebook, there's 2 billion people there, so transparency is not a problem, you know? And I think it could also help a lot with sharing information or sharing knowledge. And in a more general sense, just helping to create a community. You know, sometimes, at least in the US, I can't speak for here entirely, in the US we tend to go to work, we might go to Starbucks, and then we go home. And then we just sit in our little silo, and then we wake, you know, go to sleep, and then the next day we leave and we can do it again. Or we kind of tend to lead these very disconnected lives. And even though live streaming video doesn't physically connect us, it gives us one conduit to other people. And I think from a smart city standpoint, there might be some value there in terms of helping to create a community.
One question, we have time for one question from the audience. Please.
You spoke about the growth of live streaming. Do you think that it's applicable to all societies, including the UAE? Because like here, sometimes you're in public place, you just want to take a picture, and there are people behind you, and you can't really do that. Right. So how is like live streaming like grown here? How would it grow without causing legal or privacy issues?
That's definitely one of those big issues that I would think deserves some additional research. And as a result of that, I would say that live streaming video specifically, because you can't edit it, you can't blur somebody's face, you definitely need to approach it contextually to whatever culture, to whatever region, to whatever society that you're in. Because yeah, I mean, obviously, here you need to be more mindful of who is on the video. I have live streamed a few of my classes, and I do it the same way I'm using it right now, where I don't aim it towards the class, right? I aim it towards me. And I try to do that, although earlier I did flip it backwards and show myself on the video, but I try to be careful about not showing other people for too long. So you do have to be mindful of it, and that can lead to lots of other problems. Like I said, people live stream stuff I wouldn't even do in public, period. You know, and then when you put it out there, more people can see it. People can record it. I think it can lead to a lot of troublesome situations, just as it can lead to a lot of positive encounters.
Thank you. Okay, one short question because we have 2 more papers. One and a half.
You said you're recording your lectures.
Yes.
So it is good, but at the same time it discourages you students to go to the lectures because they can watch live streaming, so there is no need to travel to here, to sit here and to listen to it. Did you find some kind of relationship between these 2 things?
Well, I haven't done it regularly enough for that to be a predictable outcome. In other words, I don't live stream every lecture, because if I did, yeah, that would be a realistic expectation. If they knew that I live streamed every lecture and then I posted online, why would you go? Right? One of my favorite movies, I think it was Animal House. There's this recurring scene where the professor is lecturing, and each time they cut to it, this is 30, 40 years ago, there's a tape recorder. And every time they cut back to the students, there's more tape recorders and less students. By the end of this little scene, even the professor, there's a tape recorder, and nobody's in the class, right? It's a recorded lecture, and people are recording the lecture from their seats, right? That's a possibility, but then I would also ask, is that a bad thing, right? I've taught a lot online, and I think there's tremendous value to having that archived material, and there's tremendous value to making learning available to people who can't come to class, or even people who aren't even in the class. So again, there's always both sides. There's 2 sides there.
Thank you, Dr. Matthew.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your